Can you build muscles on the ketogenic diet? Watch this video to find out.
All right, so today we're going to talk about how to build some muscle mass with the ketogenic diet. Now, before we even get into it, I want to preface this video by saying that I don't think that the ketogenic diet is optimal for putting on as much muscle as possible. The ketogenic diet keeps your insulin very low, and this is a good thing in terms of losing fat and getting shredded. But when it comes to putting on muscle, having low insulin levels will be to your detriment. Because insulin is one of the most anabolic hormones, you're going to be leaving a lot of gains on the table if you attempt to build muscle on a ketogenic diet. Having that said, there are benefits to trying to put on mass with the ketogenic diet. Number one, you'll stay leaner. You won't put on muscle as fast, but you won't put on nearly as much fat as you would on a traditional bulk. And there's some good reasons to want to keep fat low, right? Some of you might be thinking, oh, who cares? I'll just bulk, and if I put on some fat, I'll just cut after. The problem with that is when you gain fat, I'm about to break some science down for you. A lot of you guys aren't going to believe what I'm going to say, so there will be studies, there will be links to studies in the description where you can check it out. I know a lot of you guys like to fact check on the internet, so I want to break this down for you. When you put on fat, this is how it works. I'm going to take you back to biology class. When the fat cells grow, they grow when you're in a caloric surplus. They grow, and then bam, the fat cells split, then they continue to grow. Now the problem is when you lose fat, you don't really lose fat. The cells just shrink. And once you have made new fat cells, the fat cells never go away. They may die over time, but what happens is your body creates a new baseline. And so your body kind of knows how many fat cells it's supposed to have. So it will regenerate those cells. I say all that to say, once you create these new fat cells, you are stuck with them forever. And for the rest of your life, it will be more difficult for you to get lean, and it will be easier for you to put on fat because you now have more fat cells. That may be discouraging to people who are watching this who are overweight. Hey, it is what it is, fam. But what you can do is those fat cells can really shrink and get really, really small, so you get the appearance of losing fat. All right, so the reason you want to stay lean when you're putting on muscle is because you don't want to grow new fat cells, because you'll make it harder for your body to lose fat and easier for your body to put on fat forever, right? So I like to stay lean as possible when I bulk, when I'm trying to put on that muscle mass. Number two, man, you guys know how it is. If you've ever been on a bulk, you eat all this food, you get tired after every meal, you get like kind of lethargic, you're always full and everything. That does not happen on a ketogenic diet. In fact, when you're on a ketogenic diet, you always feel kind of great, you know? You can get what's called the itis. That is not a scientific term. That will not be in the description. But what happens is a lot of times when you eat, you notice you get tired, groggy after. That comes from the spike in insulin. So you avoid that when you're on a ketogenic diet because it is specifically designed not to spike insulin. All right, so now that we got that out the way, how do you build muscle on a ketogenic diet? Well, a lot of you may be saying to yourself or getting ready to type furiously in the comment section, you can't build muscle on a ketogenic diet. I'm a spaz. Calm down, stupid. It's all good. There are numerous studies that show you are in fact able to build muscle with a ketogenic diet. I am not a scientist, so I'm just going to take the scientist's word for it and post the links to the studies, you know, in the description, and maybe some will pop up on the screen for you nerds to look at. Now, you don't just have to take some science nerds word for it. You can also take my word for it. I will show some pictures right now, some video of me before I started my ketogenic bulk. What happened was I had to have surgery and I couldn't work out for a little over a month. So I deliberately put myself in a caloric deficit during this time because I didn't want to put on any fat while I wasn't able to train. What happened was I actually lost some muscle. So I thought, hey, this would be a great time to test what it's like to bulk on the ketogenic diet. I tested for myself. See, I'm not just giving you guys information or stuff that I read in some book or online. I'm giving you the facts of the stuff that's worked for me. So anyway, you can see from the images and that I was looking bad. It wasn't the Brandon Carter you've all grown to know and love. I was looking frail. So what I did was I started my ketogenic bulk and for about a month, and I was able to put on a good amount of size with not much fat at all. All right, and I will show you how I did that and how you guys can do that. Now, in the studies in the description where we talk about people gaining muscle on a ketogenic diet, they were doing a strict ketogenic diet. That meant every day they were eating 5% carbohydrates, 20% protein, or 75% fat. That is the protocol for the ketogenic diet. If you want to know more about that, I covered it in my last video in this series on the ketogenic diet. All right, so if you want to know more about that, go check out that video. That link is in the description as well. Now, these people were able to make gains with the ketogenic diet, scientifically proven. All right, so let's get that out of the way. But here's the thing: to maximize muscle gains with the ketogenic diet, I don't think you should try what's called the strict ketogenic diet. I think you should do the cyclical ketogenic diet. On the cyclical ketogenic diet, you do strict ketogenic for 5 days, all right? And you want to be in a surplus too. Let me explain. For 5 days a week, Monday through Friday is a good time to do it, right? From Monday to Friday, strict ketogenic diet. You're gonna have your carbs at 5% and your protein. Now here, pay attention. Your protein should be at least 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. Then you make your fat 75% of your total caloric intake. I mean, at least 75%. If you can go higher, then do that, because you also need to be in a caloric surplus, meaning you are consuming more calories than you burn. It's really important you pay attention to what I'm about to say. Even though you're keeping your protein at 1 gram per pound of body weight, you want to make sure the ratio, the macronutrient ratio, is still only 20%. Your protein still needs to be no more than 20%. That means you have to increase fat. Otherwise, it's going to kick you out of ketosis, because your body will convert that extra protein into glycogen. Glycogen spikes the insulin level. You're not in ketosis anymore, man. Forget about it. You can eat as much protein as you want. This is what a lot of people mess up. You can eat as much protein as you want, as long as the ratio is only 20%. And so if you want to do 2 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass, then that means your fat intake has to be way higher than that. So it's at 75%, and your carbs always got to stay at 5. Really, I don't even like using 5% for carbs. I like to keep carbs under 50 grams total. So you're doing that for 5 days. But here's where the magic happens. On the cyclical ketogenic diet, take your carbs up 2 days a week. So it's almost like having 2 cheat days. If you want to be scientific about it, you can take your carbs up to 70% of your total macronutrient ratio. A lot of people will then take their fats down to 15% and their proteins to 15% as well. You know, split evenly. That's an effective method. Me, I just eat whatever the hell I want. On the weekends, it's like I'm having 2 cheat days, full days of cheat, because I'm bulking, right? So it's all good. That's how I do it. It's not optimal. It's just kind of cool after being so strict during the week. Then on the weekends, I can just be a regular guy, go to the bars, have fun, enjoy life, and just make sure I'm in the surplus and I'm just eating everything. Pause. On these high carb days, if you want to be stricter about it, you can also reduce water intake a little bit, because you may put on some water weight on those days due to the high carb intake. Now, the reason this has been so beneficial, because it spikes your insulin levels, your growth hormone levels, your testosterone levels, and replenishes your glycogen reserves, which allows you to build muscle. And a lot of people have had a lot of success with the cyclical ketogenic diet when it comes to putting on muscle. Now, you can do it with just a strict ketogenic diet as long as you're in a surplus. I just don't think it's recommended. I think that the cyclical ketogenic diet will give you the benefits of spiking your insulin 2 days a week, right? The anabolic benefits, but also help keep fat accumulation to a minimum. And as you can see from the after image, after doing that for a month, I was able to put on some nice size, stay nice and lean, and you know, it was just more enjoyable than a traditional bulk, because a traditional bulk I eat all this crazy food and I'm just tired all the time, I'm full all the time, and I break out sometimes. You know, having your insulin level spiked all the time will cause you to break out, cause inflammation. But when you're on a ketogenic diet, one of the benefits is flawless skin, clear skin, and it's just more enjoyable. You know, it's just more enjoyable. I have more energy levels. Sometimes I just get so lethargic doing a traditional bulk, and I really notice it on the high carb days, because when I'm doing those high carb days, I don't have as much energy as I do during the week. But that's just what I've noticed, and I've heard a lot of people corroborate those statements. So that's how I build muscle on the ketogenic diet. This is video 2 of the 4-part series on the ketogenic diet. On the next video, I'm going to be talking about the difference between intermittent fasting and the ketogenic diet, the pros and cons of each, and use both of them together to maximize results. I've been doing that for a while, and it's been outstanding. If you want to know more about the ketogenic diet, if you're really interested, I got a book coming out called Keto Hacks. It's dropping on the 22nd of this month. If you're watching this video in the future, after the 22nd, then it's out now, baby. Hit the link in the description and find out more about it. All right, see you on the next video. Peace.